It is no secret that NASCAR race control and the NASCAR decision makers had a rough Sunday in Richmond. Let's break it all down. Welcome to the garage. Did Denny Hamlin jump that final start or did he not? Well, it's not much of a debate anymore. He even said it himself.
So the money question.
What are they talking about?
Did you jump the restart?
I went pretty early in the zone.
And then if you look at this in-car footage from Martin Truex Jr.'s car on that final restart, it really shows you everything that you need to know.
He went early. Still you at 11. Stay in your lane. Still you at 11. 2 off the 2 wide.
You can clearly hear Hamlin accelerating before he hits that first line in the restart zone. NASCAR would come out shortly after the race and say that they reviewed that final restart and they deemed it good. Oof. Look, we saw on that in-car camera, Hamlin went early. If that's not good enough for you, straight from the horse's mouth, he said it on his podcast, he accelerated early. Now this morning, NASCAR Senior Vice President of Competition Elton Sawyer went on Sirius XM radio and had this to say.
First and foremost, the 11 is the control vehicle. They have earned the right to be in that position. They've won the battle off pit road. They put themselves in a position to be able to control the restart. And as I looked at it yesterday, again, multiple times, there's no doubt he rolled early. And, again, it's a bang-bang call. It's at the end of the race. We're a live sporting event. We don't have the luxury of a timeout and go to the sideline and review it and make that call. If this happens at lap 10 or 50 or 300, the call could have been different. So,
now, first off, I do want to tip my hat to Elton Sawyer. I know, that might sound crazy, all the controversy that's going on right now, but listen, he's been under fire the past 3 days. It's not even just this final restart. There's more things that happen officiating-wise at Richmond that we have to cover. Make sure you stay to the end of the video for all of that. But what Sawyer's actually saying here without actually saying it is, yes, we missed this one. We messed up. Hamlin did indeed jump the start. Sawyer makes a really great point in this radio interview. He says, listen, we don't have the luxury of timeouts. We can't stop the race. We can't stop that restart and try to make a call. I think we forget that this is an overtime finish at Richmond. It takes roughly 22 seconds to complete a lap at this track. So that means from the time that Hamlin fired early in the restart zone to the time he's doing burnouts in the infield is roughly over 1 minute. That's not enough time to make a call like that. It's not like NASCAR race control had other things to worry about on that restart too. Here's a video you might not have seen of them almost wrecking the entire field on the back straightaway. Then you had the Truex and Larson battle. Then you had the Truex and Hamlin battle. There was a lot going on in about 45 seconds worth of time. At that point, it almost seems like that restart was just an afterthought. Now, believe me, I know it sounds bad, but I'm not trying to justify NASCAR's call here. It was a blatant missed call. It was black and white. Hamlin jumped the start, and obviously moving forward, that needs to be fixed. But what I am saying is that we've got cars going 150 miles an hour on a very small track with only 2 laps. It's very fast moving. Everything happens in the blink of an eye. Yes, things are going to happen. There are going to be calls that don't get made. There's going to be things that don't get seen right away. Listen, I'm a big fan of other sports besides NASCAR. I watch every NFL primetime game, every playoff game, and I watch every Atlanta Falcons game every single week. If I had a nickel for every time an NFL ref makes a bad call, changes the entire trajectory of the game, doesn't say anything, leaves the stadium, comes back next week just to do it all over again, I would be a billionaire. The fact that NASCAR can step up and say, hey, look, we made a mistake here, we dropped the ball here, is something to be applauded because other sports leagues will simply just not do that. They'll either blatantly ignore their bad calls or they'll try to justify them. And yes, NASCAR said after the race that they deemed the restart good. That was the wrong call. It was a bad call, but I don't see them trying to justify it. Now the question is, how do they fix it? Because that's next on the list of things to do. Earlier today, I saw a tweet from Bob Pockris saying that NASCAR actually has an official right at that restart line to make those types of calls. So obviously, yes, that officiating, it has to get tighter, it has to get better. Nonetheless, that was just the icing on the cake Sunday night because NASCAR had even more issues with officiating that we'll get into now. Of course, I'm going to have to jumble up the chronological order in which certain events took place. I started with the end of the race. Now I might as well go to the beginning of the race. At the scheduled green flag time, the track was wet. It rained for most of the afternoon into the early evening at Richmond. It looked like, maybe this race was going to have a lengthy delay, or maybe it wouldn't even start that night. Maybe it would have to be moved to Monday. Until NASCAR made the decision that they were going to run the start of the race on the wet weather tires. And I loved this decision. I thought it was a huge moment for the sport of NASCAR. Fox really drilled it into our heads that this would be the first time in NASCAR history that a points-paying race on an oval would start on wet weather tires. This was really the big test to see if they could actually do it or not. It's something that's been talked about for years, for decades. Oh, another rain delay. Why don't they just put wet weather tires on the cars? Well, this was finally the moment where we could see, is it going to work or not? I loved it. I was here for the challenge, but here's the problem that I had with it. The cars come rolling off pit road. Everyone's so excited. They're going to throw the green flag in wet conditions. But then they started running pace lap after pace lap. There was like 10 pace laps to start this race. And it's like, okay, if you're going to do it, just do it. Because every pace lap you're running is the track getting drier and drier and drier. You went through the work of putting these wet weather tires on. It's Easter Sunday. Everybody's watching. Everyone's ready to watch a race. Just turn them loose. Let's go. Let's race. Because the track's not that wet, right? Like we're not going to run the whole race with these wet weather tires. We only have a couple laps to really, truly, see the test here. But every pace lap that you run is a little less time that we're going to see green flag on these wet weather tires. And you can say, oh, well, NASCAR was trying to dry pit road. Yeah, okay, but NASCAR already said that they were going to have non-competitive pit stops anyway. Well, then you can argue, oh, well, what if someone had to pit under green? To that, I say that these are professional pit crews. I'm sure that they could pit a car on a damp pit road. No, I'm positive they can pit a car on a wet pit road. Because if you've seen how these pit crews train, they're out there training rain or shine. But they finally throw the green flag, and I gotta say, it was a blast. It was the best racing that we've seen at Richmond in 10 years. And the thing that made it so interesting was I was so looking forward to what is the strategy play going to be. Do you possibly pit under green to try to get slick tires? And what advantage would that give you? Because like I said, every lap that you're running is a track getting drier and drier and drier. You get that dry line and you could put some slick tires on it and get away with that. But NASCAR decided to dictate that. And I gotta say, that really kind of killed the fun. On lap 30, NASCAR throws a competition caution. Everybody's to come down pit road and change into slick tires. And I was so disappointed because you've got to put this into the team's hands. This is professional stock car racing, the top of the top. It's a professional sport. You've got to let the teams have just a little bit of say in what they want their strategy to be. Again, I suppose it was because of the pit road and we couldn't have competitive pit stops, and NASCAR wanted to keep everybody safe, which kudos to NASCAR for always trying to keep their drivers and their teams safe. But man, it really killed the strategy game. After that, it was your typical run-of-the-mill Richmond race, hard to pass, kind of follow the leader-ish. But it was really cool to see that, yes, we can, in fact, run on an oval in the wet weather. Can we race when it's pouring? No. But I think those weather conditions at Richmond on Sunday were the perfect conditions in order to run those wet weather tires. And if we see rain to that extent at Martinsville or Phoenix or New Hampshire, then yes, you can put those wet weather tires on and get away with it. Following the theme of poor officiating on Sunday, I do want to quickly cover the caution that NASCAR threw for Kyle Busch. Look, a lot of people are upset with this one, and I see where you're coming from with it. But if you watch the replay, you can clearly see that the 8 car hits the wall with some kind of force. Here you can even see the left front tire kind of hop up off the ground a little bit. I've made my personal views on what I think should be a caution, what shouldn't be a caution, very clear in previous videos. This one in particular is very borderline, don't get me wrong. But much like that final restart of the race, we gotta remember things are happening so fast here. Sometimes the officials get just a little trigger happy with that caution button. The 8 car hit the wall. That's just simple facts. So then the questions start coming up. Why did he hit the wall? Does he have a tire down? Is it a brake issue? Is he going to try to cut across the field and get to pit road? See, if NASCAR didn't throw the caution and Kyle had a tire down and he turned left across the field to try to pit and then he caused a big accident, well, then we'd be having a totally different conversation. We'd be having the total opposite conversation. We'd be saying, oh, well, that crash could have been simply avoided if NASCAR just threw the caution when Kyle hit the wall. So personally, I would rather see them throw the caution there than not. Because let's be honest, there have been many instances where a car had hit the wall and there should have been a caution throw. So if NASCAR wants to throw a caution there, fine, that's great, that's okay with me, but you've just got to be more consistent with that. Also, I just want to quickly note that we have not seen a phantom debris caution since the beginning of stage racing. So if NASCAR does want to get a little softer on what they feel is deemed a caution, I'm here for it. That's just my opinion, though. Out of all the controversy that NASCAR faced on Sunday night, here's the biggest issue I have with the race. I do think that this was kind of overshadowed because of that final restart of the race, but I want to bring a little light to it. So it's 2 laps to go. We've got Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson racing for, I think it was 5th place. Cars are handling terribly. You can't pass as it is. Larson gets loose off the corner. Bubba accidentally gets in his left rear. Larson spins out. Caution is thrown. We've got a green-white checkered finish now. Now, another quick disclaimer. I've seen a lot of people saying that this right here should not have warranted a caution, and that is just simply ridiculous to say. Larson is sliding with his driver's side first into oncoming traffic, all while also sliding towards the inside wall. This is 100% a caution, and that's just simply not up for debate. So anyways, yeah, it's 2 to go. Larson spins out, and now we are heading into overtime. Kyle Larson, the car that spun out to bring out the caution, pits, has a good pit stop, has a good restart. He ends up finishing the race in 3rd. That's on a green-white checkered finish at a short track. Right after spinning out, he finishes 3rd. That does not sound right to me. As far as I'm concerned, if you bring out a caution, you should start at the tail end of the field. If the tower has to say, put it out, 5 cars spinning, then that 5 car should go to the tail end of the field, if it's his fault or not. In order to bring out the caution, you have become an obstacle. You've become unsafe for the race to continue. So why should you be able to keep your position where you were during that situation? To me, this just makes no sense. You shouldn't be able to be racing for 5th, spin out, and then in 2 laps finish the race in 3rd. And quite frankly, I'm afraid that this is going to create even more issues in the future. Because what's stopping a driver who's running in 2nd with just a handful of laps to go to itch his arm? If you know, you know. Spin out, cause a caution, pit, get a good pit stop, come off pit road in 1st maybe even, and win the race. It shouldn't be that way, and NASCAR, I think, needs to fix this because drivers are going to take advantage of it. And this is nothing against Kyle Larson. He had a great race. He deserved to finish where he did. That accident was not his fault, but at the same time, he shouldn't be rewarded for spinning out. In no way, shape, or form should that 5 car have even finished in the top 10 after spinning out with only 2 laps to go. Like I said, it's only going to create more issues that seriously should not be a thing. As far as I could remember, if you were the one to cause the caution, you didn't get any type of reward for that. So I don't know when that rule had changed. Beyond all the controversy and the mayhem and the hurt feelings of this week at Richmond, I can see a little bit of a silver lining. There is a lot of stories. There's a lot of people talking, and they're talking very passionately about what they saw this weekend at Richmond. Whether it's good or bad, we have not heard this much chatter following a Richmond race since probably Spingate. I mean, heck, I didn't even really cover all the on-track controversy that happened this weekend. I mean, how about the race on Saturday? We have never seen anything like that before. Have you ever seen someone in a NASCAR race take their bumper off and throw it at another competitor? I mean, come on. That is good TV. Early in the race, we had Josh Berry versus Daniel Suarez, and that got heated on pit road afterwards. Then Martin Truex was mad at the world after the race. I mean, man, Truex is an old man. We don't see that much character come out of him very often. Oh, and let's not forget that NASCAR's villain won the race. And now everyone's saying that he cheated to win the race, so he's even more of a villain. Yeah, people are talking. And, I mean, I gotta say that's good for the sport, right? There's going to be calls that don't go your way. There's going to be mistakes that are going to be made. These things are all inevitable. NASCAR is always evolving and adapting to new things. Not every race is going to be called perfectly. Not every race is going to be called poorly like this one. I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to find the good in this, but I think NASCAR is going to be okay. I applaud them for coming out and saying that they've made mistakes. I just want to see how they can fix them. I'm sure that this has been a pretty long video, and before I go, I do quickly just want to answer a quick question from the Instagram story. If you are not following me on Instagram already, what the heck are you doing? If you call yourself a NASCAR fan and you're not following NASCAR Time on Instagram, you're doing it wrong. I post only the latest news, updates, and rumors as soon as the news breaks. If you want your news ASAP, you better follow me and put those post bell notifications on. Enough plugging, though. Let's get to the question. This question comes from catfish.caden on Instagram. Shout out to him. Go give him a follow when you go give me a follow as well. His question is, do you think that Truex would have 50-plus wins or more championships had he been given better equipment sooner in his career? Caden, thank you for your question, and honestly, I think this is a really, really good question, and something that I kind of think about often. For the NASCAR fans who have been watching for a long time, before Truex was winning championships with Furniture Row and contending for championships with Joe Gibbs Racing, Truex was, how do I put this nicely, mid. He was quite mediocre on teams like Ganassi and Michael Waltrip Racing. Now, although I don't really know the specifics if he would have 50-plus wins and 3 or 4 championships if he was on, let's say, Joe Gibbs Racing at the beginning of his career, but I do think he obviously would have had a more successful career if he was on a better team. And I think it just goes to show, especially in the mid 2000s to 2010s, that your equipment really mattered. Because I remember when Truex went to Furniture Row, he won that first race at Pocono. It was like, wow, where did Martin Truex Jr. come from? He's always been just a 15th place kind of driver. He goes to Furniture Row, they won that one race with Regan Smith, whatever. They're kind of an iffy team. It looked like Truex would probably race at Furniture Row for a couple years and then call it quits. But he meshed so well with Cole Pearn. They ended up winning that championship, and now he's racing full-time for Joe Gibbs Racing at the age of, 43, still competing for championships. That goes to show you that some of the best drivers out there could just be overshadowed by their poor equipment. So sure, I do think he could have 50-plus wins and more championships if he was given the proper ability to do so. So I'm totally rambling now, but to answer your question, Caden, yes, I do think that Truex would have a better career if he was in better equipment sooner. So that's really all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please go follow on Instagram. I'm trying to become a little more active on Twitter as well and TikTok. And if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button down below. Turn those post bell notifications on so you can get notified as soon as I post a video here. I think that's it. I don't think I can plug anything else. Thank you so much for watching the videos. Thank you for watching the NASCAR Crash compilation videos and enjoying them. We're getting a lot of subscribers, a lot of views, a lot of comments from those. It's so fun to watch the channel grow and hopefully turn into something that's going to end up being very special. Until then, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.